Hey everyone, it's Sarah from Sassy Reads, and today I'm going to be talking about some of the books that I read in 2018. So, let's dive right in with a Stephen King book that I don't own. I know, the travesty. This is one book that I did own once upon a time. I read it in the 6th grade. This one has like a story to tell, so let's talk about it. I'm talking about It by Stephen King. The first time I came across this novel, I was 11, I think, and I was entering out of my obsessive Fear Street Christopher Pike R.L. Stine reading spree that had been occurring for a while, and I had started to read like Twilight and stuff in 5th grade, but I was like, I want to read Stephen King because I feel like that's the next level. So I went to my used bookstore and I bought a crap ton of first edition hardcover Stephen King's, which I all gave away. Someone hit me upside the head, please, because I don't know what I was thinking. You know what? I know what I was thinking. I was thinking, I don't really jive well with Stephen King. His books are too complex for me, and I'll never love them. Well, adult Sarah is spitting on younger Sarah because Stephen King is my favorite author. But that's okay. We all have to learn and grow as readers. Well, so I don't own it. I do plan on eventually buying my own copy, just not right now because, yeah, just not right now. But eventually in the future, I will have a copy of it to make away and a home on my shelf. Originally, I gave it 2 stars back in the day. It stuck with me. It definitely stuck with me. I thought it was incredibly too much for me and my young self, especially that scene. You know what scene I'm talking about, with all the kids down in the tunnel. Yeah, you know which scene I'm talking about. That stuck with me, and I was like, what did I just read? And I was like the same age as them at the time, so I was like, what the heck is all of this? So I consider it to be that book that like mentally scarred me in my psyche as a young child, but not in a bad way, just more of like in the way of like I messed up from this, but also I'm not messed up enough like to stop reading. Obviously it must have done something to my psyche because since then I like horror a lot more. And so my library has a couple of Stephen King audiobooks, so it being one of them, and I got the audiobook narrated by Steven Weber, which is a fantastic narration. If you're interested in slogging through it, because it's over 1,000 pages, it's not an easy feat, I recommend the audiobook. I gave it 5 stars. The 2-star rating that I once gave it can be thrown out the window because this is a fantastic novel. It is so well thought out, multi-layered, multifaceted, so many character arcs that are so small being interwoven into other character arcs. There's different books from King's universe being interwoven into the Derry madness of Pennywise, the dancing clown. It's scary, it's unsettling. I know the basic commentary that I hear a lot when it comes to it is they curse too much. The language is incredibly racist, homophobic, and foul. And my answer to you is, did you not read the novel? Because that's the whole point. The people in Derry are racist, homophobic, and basically monsters. That is why it has thrived there. He has basically come in and taken out their humanity, and without even them knowing, he made his way into the Derry pipes, and in doing that he made his way into the heart of Derry and its citizens, and they're all so corrupted by it that they don't see anything wrong with the use of their language, and so of course their children who are 12 years old are not going to see the problem with using the N-word or Jewish slurs or saying the F-word, or just being overall bad people, because we see that there's other 12-year-olds like the Bowers gang who go around torturing people and the adults don't do anything about it. Literally, we see Ben get branded by Henry and literally nothing is really done about it. Like, what? So that's a qualm that always, like, I kind of just scratch my head and I'm like, yeah, like, I get your point, And I know, like, it's uncomfortable for a lot of people to read, but guess what? There are crappy people out there, and for me, it's valid. And I know a lot of people are like, Stephen King always does that in all of his books. And I'm like, well, he's a horror writer, and sometimes the most monstrous creatures we encounter are the ones who sit next to us at a bus stop, and they are humans. So, you know, I think it's a valid approach to telling horror, because to me it makes sense. I don't condone it, of course. I'm not like, yeah, this horrible foul language is right, because it's not. But that's just a qualm that I completely disagree with. Also, the tunnel thing, I don't know how I feel about that. I listened to it on audiobook. You want to talk about getting into it? That is something to overcome, because it's hard to fast forward through an audiobook. So I just stuck it out and listened to it. And it's one of those really weird, intense, gross things that I don't really know why Stephen King had it there. I'm pretty sure this book was written in the midst of his coke haze. So, you know, that's a contributor. But overall, I love it. I love the concept of it. I love the town of Derry and how messed up it is. I love the Losers Club. They are my favorite friend group. I just adore them exponentially. My favorite is obviously Ben Hanscom, because he's a small, precious soul who kept getting done dirty. I also really love Beverly Marsh and how strong she is, and she's totally kicked butt. I love Bill, of course. He's a fan favorite. Mike is kind of like my underrated friend who I'd want to like hang out with all the time, just because I feel like Mike gets like thrown to the curb, especially in that remake. I was like, I'm not here for this Mike characterization. We're not even going to talk about that It film, because that was not good. And so, yeah, I really love the Losers Club. I love Stan. He's funny. It's kind of sad what happens to him, but of course, it makes sense, especially with the way that they all left the tunnel. It's kind of one of those things where you can tell. Stephen King does that. If you ever read anything by Stephen King, if anyone walks away first, they're going to be the first to die. That's just how it is. That's basic foreshadowing for all of Stephen King's books. There you go. Spoilers, but not spoilers, because I feel like it's kind of known by now that that's how he operates in the horror realm. Richie, I love Trash Mouth. Richie, he's funny. He like gives the best comic relief in like the worst moments, because like they're running from the Bowers gang, and it's like, it's not the time to be making these comments to get you murdered, Henry. You need to chill. Who's the other one? Oh, Eddie. I love Eddie, just because it's interesting to see a child whose mother has Munchausen's by proxy, and he's like totally unaware to it, easily manipulated. It's incredibly sad and depressing. I just love these kids so much. They're so well layered. I love the adults that they become too, but I'm here for them as kids. That's where I really feel like this novel shines, is when they are children. It shines too when they're adults, but for me, I care more when they're kids, because they're awesome and I just feel for them more, and I want them to become victorious and defeat it. And when they're adults, I still want that, and I want them to be successful, but it's not the same, just because my heart is still like, but they were once small beings. So, yeah, my thoughts on it have changed. It is not a 2-star book anymore. It's a 5-star book for me. It's not my favorite Stephen King novel. It's not even in my top 5 Stephen King novels, but it's definitely a Stephen King novel that I highly recommend. And I enjoyed it, especially the audiobook narration. It made this novel go by really fast. So yeah, that's my thoughts on It by Stephen King. Let me know down below in the comments what you think of it. Let me know down below in the comments what your thoughts on the movie adaptations, anything and everything that you want to discuss. Let's just discuss it down below. So don't forget to subscribe. Bye, and happy reading!